Hello everyone, welcome to the series of videos on web programming fundamentals. In previous video, we discussed a few basics of HTML, actually a few basic tags of HTML in the slides. So in this video, we will just experiment with simple HTML tags, basic HTML tags by writing the code and then viewing the same into the browser. So let's suppose we have this empty folder named as HTML here. So there's nothing there. We will write some HTML code and save the file in this folder. To write the code, we need some code editor. So we will use Visual Studio Code as our code editor. So this is actually pretty good code editor by Microsoft. So we will use this. So let's start. Let's open the folder that we have on the desktop here as HTML. So we will open the folder. Just remove the welcome page, and then we have the empty folder here. So let's create one simple HTML file here. We will name the file as first HTML.html. Okay, so we have our file ready to write the code. We can see that our file is here in HTML folder. So to write the code, it's pretty easy in Visual Studio Code. It can write some basic code already. So we can just write HTML, just choose HTML5, and then Emmet will actually complete the code for us. It will write the basic HTML document for us. So we can actually remove these tags. We will discuss them later. Okay, so this is actually the basic HTML document here. So we have started a start tag as the doc type tag. So this actually tells the browser that this page or this document is an HTML document. So the browser needs to display the HTML document. And then we have this HTML as a root element with the attribute language as en. So our language for this page is actually English by this. So browser will display this as in English. Otherwise, for example, if it is Arabic, then for example, Google Chrome can indicate us that we can actually translate the page from Arabic to English. So this attribute tells that our document is in English. Okay, so we have a title tag in the head. So let's change the title as first HTML page. This title actually will be displayed in the browser tab. So we have an empty body here. We have nothing in the body now for now, but actually we can visualize or see this page in some browser. So let's open our this page with Google Chrome here. Open with Google Chrome, and then Google Chrome renders this page. This page currently is empty because we have nothing in the body here, but actually the title is displayed in the tab. So first HTML page. Now we can actually write some code here in body. Let's say first we have some heading 1, but currently there is no tag here. So if we refresh the browser just displays HTML. I'm zooming this document, so this is heading 1, but currently if we see this is actually not rendered as heading 1 because there is no tag attached to it. So we can actually attach the tag here. So let's say, for example, we have this h1. and then enclose heading 1 into h1. Now this is heading 1 actually, because these tags inform the browser to display this text as a heading. So now if we refresh, the browser displays this as a heading with the large fonts. So this is actually the basic of the HTML. Every content has some associated tags, and these tags have some meaning. Similarly, for example, if we have some text here, let's say we can write that with Lauren. So we have this random text here, but this text can be displayed something like this. So currently this is displayed as a paragraph, but currently actually this is not a paragraph element because it is not enclosed in p elements. It's just a simple tag text here, but we can actually make this text as a paragraph. So let's say, for example, we write the p element here, and then closing tag here. I think this text may not be visible, so let's arrange our window so we can see the text clearly. Yeah, I think now it's quite visible. Okay, so now similarly, for example, if we change this tag from p to, let's say, h2, so the meaning of this text will change from paragraph to heading. So this now text now should be displayed by the browser as a heading 2. That is some second level heading here. So now see, if we see this text is displayed in the large fonts. So this is only because of the text attached to this text. Similarly, if we change this into, let's say, heading 6, it will be displayed as heading level 6 by the browser, because this these tags actually change the meaning or the look of this text here. Now let's refresh the browser. Now we have some heading 2 level content displayed. Okay, we can just move back to our paragraphs here. So we have a paragraph. Similarly, we see we had 6 levels of heading. So let's copy this heading few times. Now we can change this h1 into h6 actually. So this is our heading 2. This is our heading 3, heading 4, heading 5, and heading 6. So we have 6 levels of headings provided in HTML. So let's refresh the page. Okay, now we see 6 levels of headings. So we have the headings here, we have the paragraphs here, and then we had the list. So let's start with ordered list first. So we have OL tags, and inside OL tags we have LI tags, and inside LI tags actually we can list the items, or bulleted list of items, a numbered list of items. So we have list item 1 here. So let's copy this few times, and then we have item 2 here, item 3, 4, and 5. So what it tells to the browser that this text should be displayed into numbered list of items, because this OL has some special meaning or special tag here, which actually changes the meaning of this. So let's refresh the browser. So our this text is actually displayed as list items. Let's say we want to display this as an unordered list. So let's copy this. Now we have two lists here. Let's change this UL. So we have changed from UOL to UL. So the second list is actually a bulleted list of items, because there's no numbers here because of this unordered or UL tag here. Okay, so we have this list displayed as bulleted list. Then we had actually some other tags that we saw in the slides. Actually, these were form tags. So I think this is good time to introduce the comments here. Actually, we can comment this code. So let's select the whole text here, and then we can comment the whole text here. So the comment starts from greater less than sign, exclamation mark, and then two hyphens, and then comment ends with again two hyphens and then greater than sign. So this tells the browser that browser should not display this content. This content will be there, but browser will not display this content. So this is actually the comment. So let's refresh the page. We can see that this page is empty, but if we see the page source here, we can see that we have this same text here appearing here. So the same text is not rendered by the browser is only because of this comment tag. Okay, now we can move to the form elements. So I will start with say h1 and then forms. So for the form, we have some basic form tag, and inside the form tag we can place several input controls to collect user information from the user. So this action attribute has some special meaning, and we will use this when we move to the server side. So this actually tells where the information should go, or which page on the server this information should be submitted to. So we can remove this for now because we don't need it. Inside the form element, we can actually place several input controls. So we have this input tag here, and this input tag can be changed into several types of controls only by changing the type attribute. So here we have the text, so we can actually collect the text here. Note that the input tag has a single tag, so it does not have a closing tag here. So let's visualize here how this is rendered by the browser. So let's refresh the page here. Now we see we have some text field, and then the user can enter some information here. But in principle, these form controls are have some label here. For example, let's say we want to collect user name here, so we can place a label here. Let's refresh, and then we have this username here. We can see that to enter the name we need to click this control here, and then we can enter the information here. But we have some special label control here. So for example, if we write the label tag here and we can remove from here, and we can actually enclose the whole thing, including the label itself and the control itself into the label. Now if we re-render the page, it is almost like same, but now we can, if we click on the username here, this uh, control gets the focus automatically. Now we can enter the information. Let's see again. Now we click here. Now we are out of the focus of this control, but if we click on this, let's zoom in so that we can clearly see. Now if I click on the username here, this text control automatically gets the focus and we can easily enter the information. So our label tag helps this because this control is enclosed inside the label control. So this helps by clicking on the label. This control actually gets the focus. Okay, we can move forward. So now we can copy this to experiment with other controls. Sorry. So for example, now we can collect the password. Now we just need to change this type from text to password. Okay, let's refresh the page here. Now we have the password here, and now we can enter the password. You can see that whatever we enter is the text is not displayed, only these circles are displayed. This is because of the password field. One thing we might notice is that these form elements are displayed as inline. Actually, in HTML, we have two types of controls. One is the inline control, and then other is the block level controls or block level elements. So what happens, like for the inline elements, whenever we have the space, these inline elements are rendered into horizontally in a row. And then if we don't, let's experiment this. If we don't have the space, I think let's add one more control and then we can see to highlight the point. So we have the label control here, and then let's say we have the email here. We can change this into email. Now let's refresh. Now we have three controls with the labels displayed in a row, but if we are out of the space, then the controls flow into the next line or into the next row. So the point is inline elements are displayed horizontally one after the other until there is a space on the viewport. When we are out of the viewport, then they run into the next row. But for example, now if we make the size of the viewport higher and higher, so we have these forms controls displayed into the single row. We can change this into or we can make this these things to be displayed on each line. What we need to do is wrap these things into the special element, that is the div element. So let's write here. So we have this div element here. So this is actually special tag or a special element which is actually not displayed. For example, let's say we render the page again, refresh the page. There is nothing displayed on the page because this div tag by itself has no appearance on the browser. But this div tag is actually the block level control, so it reserves the whole space in the row. So if we enclose these label elements inside the div elements, now let's see. label and input controls are enclosed in the div tags. Now this div tag will be displayed as a block level element. So we will see that these passwords and email will flow into the next line automatically because of this div tag. This div tag is actually the block level control. So block level control reserve the entire space in a row. So let's refresh. Now we see that the other controls are displayed on the next line. Similarly, we can wrap other elements into the div tag. So we have this. Let's select this and then move them into the div tag. And then we have another div tag. Let's move this also into the div. So now each control is enclosed into div tags. Now each will be displayed on separate line. Just see here. Okay, so for now we have seen three types of controls. We can actually sorry, let's copy this. Now we can change the email into, let's say, search. So we can write search here. So we have this search field here. We can notice that this search field and then input field is actually very same. There is only a minor difference here. What happens, like if the field or the input is mentioned as a type search, browser will actually display this cross control here. Let's see here. Now if we move the focus into this search box here, we see this cross button here. Now if we click on the cross button, the text is removed. So this is the small minor difference between the search control and then text control. Now if we see, there is no control, something like this. So if we need to remove the text, we can remove something like this. But for the search, we already have this button here, so we can click the button and the text disappears. So this is the minor difference between the type and the search. Okay, so we can experiment with some more controls here by just changing the type. So let's copy here. Now this time we can change the search into, let's say, number. Let's refresh. Now we have the number control. Let's highlight this. Okay, so we have the number control here. We can actually see these arrows here, so we can increase the number or we can decrease the number. So this is happening because of the type of the input is number. We can also enter the number into the text field. For example, we can enter the text here, but actually we cannot increase the value here. So for example, we have 33 here. Now if we click the button, the text changes to 34. Okay, so let's see what we have the next. Let's copy this. We can also have the date. So if we change the type to date, we can actually enter the date here, something like this. Now if we click here, browser will show us the calendar, and then we can select the date. Let's select the date of today, and then we easily have the date here. We can also enter the date into the text field also. Let's say, for example, in the username, we can also enter the text, the date actually. But what HTML5 provides is like we have the control here, and then we have the calendar here displayed by the browser, only because the type of the field is date here. Okay, so let's see what we have next. One more thing we would like to highlight is like we actually have something other attributes for these input tags. One important attribute is placeholder. So this placeholder actually helps to tell the user what they need to enter into the control. So in the username, we can say like enter your user name, sorry, name here. So if we refresh the page, we already have this enter your username here displayed. Now if we enter that text here, this username changes away, and if we move out of the box and there is a text, it will be displayed. If we left it as an empty and we move to the next tag, it will be displayed. The placeholder will be displayed. Previously, this was being done with the JavaScript, but with the HTML5 placeholder property, this is already implemented into the browser by just this attribute here. We also have the required attribute here. So this required attribute is like we can actually not cannot leave this form empty when submitting the form. So one last control is the submit button. So let's, I think form element is here. So let's place the closing form tag in the end. And now the last control that we can see is the submit button to actually submit the form. So let's copy this, and then we don't need the label for this. So just remove the label and then change the type into submit. One other property is the value property. So for the value, we can actually write the submit form. So this will be displayed as a button to actually submit the form. So let's see. We have the form here. Now, for example, if we don't enter any username here, it's just empty, and we want to submit the form cannot be submitted until this required field has some information here. So the browser will not allow us to submit the form. So let's click the submit button again. We see this, please fill out this field. This is displayed by the browser because this is the required field. So for example, if we enter the user name here and we don't provide any information for the rest of the fields, and we submit the form, it should be submitted. This has refreshed. Actually, we don't have any uh, action attribute, so form cannot be submitted to anything. but we can visualize already that we cannot submit the form unless we have some information entered into the required fields. Similarly, we can set all the fields as required fields. So for example, for the password field, we can set the required one. So let's say we enter, let's refresh the page. So let's say we enter the username, but we do not enter any password and we want to submit the form. The browser will say that this field is required and we need to enter some information here. So that's all for the form fields. I think we have seen many controls. Yeah, so I think these are the basic form controls that we can use. There are actually many others also, like say for example, we have the slider, no, the range thing here. Yes, the range here. So let's actually copy this one and then leave the form button as it is. So one last control we can experiment. Let's copy this and then change into range. So we have this range control here. So we can change the type into range, and then we can have the minimum value, let's say 1, and then maximum value as say 200. So now if we refresh the page, now we see a slider here. So we can actually slide this, and then this will select a specific value between 1 and 200 here. So I think that's enough here. Did we forget something? Oh yes, so we can also set this minimum and maximum range for the number also. So let's say for the number, we use the minimum number we can enter is 1, and let's say the maximum number we can enter is, let's say, 10. So now if we refresh the page, and then if we increase this counter from 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 10, now if I click the button, it will not exceed 10. Let's say we can actually enter 20 here, and we click the button here, the number will not exceed 20. But if we decrease the number, it returns to 10, the maximum number here. So it can be decremented up to 1, and again we cannot enter for example 0 or say -1 here. So if I increment, it will change to 1. But let's say we don't have, for example, minimum value here. So let's refresh the page here. So currently we don't have any minimum value. So for example, if I write minus here, and if I increment, it changes to 0 because there is no minimum limit here. But previously, let's change to the previous minimum value here. So the minimum value that can be entered into this field is 1 now. So if I write, for example, -1, it will not change. If I increase this number, it will not change to 0 but to 1, because that is the minimum value that is allowed. So I think that's quite enough for the simple HTML elements here. uh, okay, we can see some uh, more text properties for the paragraphs. So let's say we copy this paragraph here. Let's actually remove this commented code entirely, so clean the page here. So now we have the paragraph, and then inside the paragraphs we can actually make some text as bold with the strong, sorry, strong tag. So this text enclosed into the strong tags will be displayed into the bold phase. So let's refresh this. Now we see that this special text has been emphasized with the bold phase. Similarly, we can make the text italicized by em tag. So this word here will be actually, it is italicized. Let's actually change this into more words so that we can clearly see the difference. So this text will be italicized. This means that we want to emphasize this text here. Similarly, we can also have the same text as strong and italicized. So let's say we have the strong tag here, and then inside the strong we have the em for the emphasized text. Let's bring this into separate lines so we can highlight. So this is the text that will be both italicized and then bold. So let's refresh this. Now we see that this text is bold and also in the italics. One last thing I think we forgot to discuss about the links. So for the links, say we have this AR anchor tag. So let's say we want to place the link for the Google. So we can use the href property and then https www.google.com. Okay, so now let's refresh the page. Now we have this link here. Now if we click this link, we go to the page of the Google. So let's go back. So we have this link here. One more thing, actually we can have images also. So let's say with the img tag we can say, for example, let's say Google google.png file, and then for the alter text we can say the, like Google logo. So this image tag tells the browser that the browser needs to download this google.png file and display it. And in case browser cannot find the google.png file, it should display Google logo as the text. Now because in our current file, in current folder here, we only have this HTML page and there is no image file here, so browser certainly cannot find the image, so it will just display Google logo here. So we see there's a Google logo. But for example, if we go to Google and let's say uh, if we want to save this into desktop and then HTML, let's change this to change the file name to google.png. Now we have saved the file. Let's go back to the file, and now we can see that Google logo has been displayed because this file is already there in the folder here. So we have this Google file here, and then we see we have the Google logo here. So if the browser finds the image, it will display the image, and if it cannot find the image, it will just display the text. Let's say, for example, if we change the file name here, so there's a Google file here, but now the file name is Google1. So now if we refresh the page, there is no Google logo here. This broken image indicates that browser cannot find the Google file here or the image file here. But now if we change back again to Google1 to Google here, and now if we refresh the page, we see that Google logo is displayed. So that's quite uh, for the HTML. So now we can actually close this. So let me know in the comments how do you find this video. Was it helpful? If I need to change a bit to convey the information more useful in a useful manner, so let me know please. Thank you for watching, and please keep watching.